If you plan to go on a hike on a bicycle in the mountain and you're scared about snakes, take time and watch this video. I give advice to a lot of cyclists about what to do when you get bitten on a track, how, how, how long you have to get to a hospital for each type of snake here in South Africa, in the Boland area mostly. Stay put.
For them, so I've seen probably about 8 already this year, but I mean the chances of you seeing one is very slim, but rather be safe than sorry if something does happen. Obviously it can be a negative when we come to mountain biking and trail running, and that especially if you're in a very remote part of especially here in Paarl, the way that our trails are designed and where you guys get to go. So these are risks you unfortunately have to do take, but there's ways of obviously reducing those risks and being able to manage it properly. So thanks very much for coming through. We appreciate it, and yeah, over to you.
Môre. You want to speak Zulu, English, Afrikaans, or Panagalo?
Panagalo.
Okay. I can speak a little bit of English. When I was in Australia in April, they actually thought that is how we speak English in South Africa. So there is 3 times more snakes than any other year, because just quickly I catch around between 700 and 900 snakes per year, because everybody saves my number, because I've got the biggest Afrikaans snake catching page in the world, because other countries doesn't speak Afrikaans. And I make all my videos educational. I talk a lot in the videos. While I'm catching the snakes, I tell the lady why the snake is here, and look here, that snake doesn't come for you, everything, educating people the whole time. That's why the page is doing so good. Boland Snake Removals 24/7. That name at the back of my bucket. And it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram and TikTok, but I'm shadow banned on TikTok. They say I'm doing dangerous handling because I don't use tools, catching Cape Cobras and so on. So all the years catching a lot of big snakes, but from about 2021, all of a sudden I catch a lot of small baby Cape Cobras with a black underneath. They hoot the whole time, cute little snakes, but you can also die. And about the last 2 years I catch about 70 per month. Now the ones I catch in the wild, people seeing it, that's why I catch it, it's only a drop in the emmer. Where's the rest? How big is the rest now? So all those little ones is 1.5 meters now in 3 years time, 1.2 meters. Those little ones coming into houses, the dumb ones. So the numbers went up. Why is that? From I think last year, we can actually, in Wellington is one of the hottest towns. I lived there 51 years. At night in the summer, in December, January and February, it's like 35 degrees at night and 32 degrees at night. But the last year about, we sleep under the duvet at night, but during the daytime it's hot. Now this week it's like 12 degrees at night and very hot in the day. So the incline in the temperature takes all the snakes come out. Hey, it's gonna get hot, let's start hunting before it gets too hot, because especially Cape Cobras overheat on a warm day, so they want to be in the shade, going into the shades of houses. I'm gonna talk about this mountain now. So there's a lot of 3 times more snakes than any other year so far. All the snake catchers I'm talking to explain the same thing. They can't stop. I work every night till 2 o'clock taking snakes out of people's homes, because the snake go around the house, skyfdeur staan oop, and it goes into the house, and he doesn't want to go into the house. He doesn't know it's a house. It just went off to the pool air coming from the house. Now the snake end up in the house. You come back from work, they need to hide because they don't have ears. They got a hearing bone, pick up noises and vibrations and danger. So it hides under a couch. You go to bed, then it comes out. They want to get out. It's looking for an exit. Cape cobras only operate during daytime, not nighttime. But if it's in the house, you want to get out. Then you get that little splashes, yellow poop. It's them. It's got a crayfish smell. If you make crayfish or lobster, you get that smell from the pot. That's how the shit smells like. And then you must know there's one in your house. So now 1 o'clock at night, you got a pee-pee, you go to the toilet, put on the light, whoop, Mr. Skrik at you, pops up, hoot, and everybody freaks out and phone me. Yesterday, Thursday night, 8 o'clock, a lady phoned me. There's a Cape Cobra in my spare room. Okay, where do you live? In Woolsley. Oh, okay. You gonna sleep there tonight? No, definitely not. Okay, close the door, put a wet towel in front of the door because then the towel is 6 times heavier. So that if it can fit underneath the door, you can't push away that. And when I'll come tomorrow morning, push the windows from the outside. Yesterday morning, 7 o'clock, I went to Woolsley. Get there was like verfdromme paint buckets in front on the Take it away, look everywhere. There was only a hangkas and the double bed. Look everywhere, between the base and the mattress, in the kas, can't find the snake, in the burglar bars, behind the curtains. And I have initially found a big Cape Cobra in the kussensloop in Engels. Pillowcase. My video is on everything, every platform. It's going viral now. Oh, there's the Cape Cobra, and I take it out, put it in my pipe, and I could buy, drink a whiskey or something, yeah. And 8 o'clock in the morning. So it just wants to get away and try and hide. But there, it doesn't want to be in the open. As I explained just now, they go into dark places for safety. If it's there in the field and there's a little road where you guys driving with the bicycles or MTBs or what, it goes in there. Oh, let me take a bit of the sun to build up some energy, but it's scared to be in the open. Talking about the Cape Cobras now. And when they pick up sound on that herringbone coming their way, with hikers, with joggers and your bicycles, it will move into the darkness. You will see him there 6 meters, but then you will see him go again if you come around the corner, and it just disappear. It won't lay there and challenge you, but on about 34, 35 degrees it might happen. Then there are much more ragatta. You will see in my videos, if it's cool, like yesterday morning in the pillowcase, I was actually handling the snake with the hands, put it in my pipe, okay. But if it's hot, they try and strike at you. They make more hooting on warmer days. But our parents raised us, because the lady, your mother she's 28 years old, you are 3-4 years old. She wanna do a washing, you must eat dog shit outside, you must play outside, you must eat ground outside, soil. So she tells you, I must do this. You can play outside. If you see a snake, it's gonna chase you. All snakes chase you. That little blink thingy, it's gonna bite you. Your mother don't want you in the hospital or dead. Now that little child gets 28 and translate that to her child of 5-6 years old. So everybody in the world is raised to be afraid of snakes. Snakes is gonna chase you. It's bullshit. No snake in Africa chases people. There is YouTube videos. If you go on to Google, does a black mamba chase you? Then there's a certain person's videos popping up, throwing a black mamba there, and the black mamba comes to him. But look at the sweat on his head. It's a hot day and there's bushes actually behind him and there's houses. the snake will go to the bushes and not the houses. So I'm changing the whole story to my videos. I put a lot of times you hear, if you get a Cape Cobra in a corner, then it will come for you. I put the snake in the corner, standing like this. I sit in front of it with my safety boots I always wear in my videos. It doesn't come for me. Where its body is circling, hooting at me, it will never leave that circle because I didn't bother him in that circle. He feels safe in that circle. If you come in your house from town, you don't think about the snake, and all of a sudden there's a snake. A lot of people tell me afterwards, I was freezing, I wanted to run but I was freezing. That's the right thing to do. You can only see movement. So if you stand still, it will look at the image of danger that was there. And if you're about 45, 1 minute, depending on the snake size, you will see the tail is going underneath the fridge where it's dark. Once again, dark. And then it will look away and go where its tail shows him where it's safe. If it goes under that fridge, you can, phew, that was rough, and you can phone a snake catcher and you stand around to pick up that sound and it feels safe under there. It will never come out of there. I'll give you a letter for that. But then I get at the lady's house and she's opening the gate for me. Who's watching the snake? No, I'm alone here. Oh my head, now I must crap in your bed, I see, I must look all over your house. Because the footsteps went away, it feels the vibration. Okay, it's getting safer, safer, safer. King! Snake comes out, another place. Underneath the cupboards, in the bed, whatever, because she left the area, making the snake feel safe. Now there up in the mountain, on Thursday a lady found me from somewhere in the Eastern Cape. They're doing this fencing for hunting farms, so I fences for kudu. And on lunchtime, one of the guys went and sit under a tree on a puff adder and bit him here on the back. He called me. What must we do? What must we do now? What's the protocol? It's puff adder. It won't cause any harmful things on vital organs. Just drive to the hospital without driving over red robots. Just be the same day at the hospital, but send me a photo of the snake. Yeah, but they remove its head. Okay, send me a photo of the rest of the body. I just want to ID it in case, so I can talk to Professor Hardcastle in KZN. He's running a group that I'm on with all snake bites in South Africa for doctors. I'm doing identification on that, so they might ask my help with identification and send me a photo of the bite wound. And an hour later the bite wound came. He's in hospital. There's nothing. And I told her, but it's not he was not bitten. Yeah, but he felt the pain and everything. It's a mind thing. And somebody said, yeah, there's something biting him. The puff adder didn't bite him. It's all in the mind. He even felt the pain. He was alright. Not envenomated. But anyway, if you drive there, as I said, your tracks like this, there is a lot of Cape Cobras in this mountain. This is where all of them came from, into houses in town. And my catch and release permit say I must put it back here because this belongs to Drakensberg municipality. If the snake was caught near this mountain, it must go back. But what is verdwaal in Engels? Get lost. So they actually get lost. A snake goes downwards when it gets thirsty. When it's hungry, it goes downwards because it's greener and there might be water. It's instinct. They rest for 100 days in the winter, up until the beginning of September. Or in September, the females give off a pheromone and the males go after the pheromone path they're giving off, and breeding starts. But also in September you get a lot of puff adders, normally 2 by 2. Because the female give off a pheromone scent, and the male come, and there's another male coming, and they meet and they have a male combat fighting. They don't worry about any person. You will never see a puff adder mating. Now the problem of a puff adder, they normally don't move away. It's the snake causing the most venomous snake bites in Africa. But the puff adder is not that big of an emergency. If you get bitten, it burns like fire plus. It won't attack your organs on the first day. It's only that area. So say for instance, you get bitten, you go and rest, sit under a tree, and you get bitten by a puff adder on your hand, just do this. Because that venom concentrates on that finger. It doesn't spread. If you do this, it spreads to a bigger part, and you will not lose your finger. And if you get to a hospital, they make a Koki line with a date and time every 6 hours to see how fast it's spreading before you get antivenom. Don't ask the doctor, please inject me with antivenom. They want to test for dry bites. They've got longer fangs, so it's normally a deep wound. And to ID the puff adder wound, it bleeds all the time with a watery, bloody substance, and there's a lot of swelling. Then you know it's a proper bite. But with a Cape Cobra, which one of you just thought about breathing? We don't think about breathing. In Afrikaans we call it onwillekeurige besluitname. It's neurotoxic, sorry? Yeah. It's a neurotoxic venom attacking your respiratory system. So respiratory failure kicks in after about an hour, so a doctor would tell me, get the patient to me within 30 minutes. That's a safe zone. So that venom goes to your heart and it gets pumped to your brain. Foam will form in your mouth, and your tongue will get blue. In other words, suffocation. If you get home and your dog is dead, always check the tongue, especially if you live on a farm. Suffocation. And a dog is like 5 minutes. A little child is like 5 minutes. An adult of about 80 kilograms, you have 30 minutes to get to a hospital. But if you are on doing the Karoo to coast and you're very far from a hospital, you all get that like a hemde with the pockets at the back. Keep a stretch bandage in there or cable ties to do a tourniquet. So a tourniquet you only do on a cobra bite, not on a puff adder bite. That's when you lose your finger or one of your limbs. Say for instance, you are far away and you get bitten. Normally cyclists get bitten on their legs, so then you can put something very tight like a belt, a cable tie or a stretch bandage up in your lies. What is a lies? What is it? Groin. High up in your groin, just to slow down your blood flow to your heart. The doctor will fix your leg again. You don't want to lose your breathing ability. And if they call the ambulance for a Cape Cobra bite, the ambulance come, take the person towards the ambulance, organize the same route. You see the red lights pull over, he must make a U-turn anyway. We will park at your backside, he will come and put you on a respirator, then on a stretcher, then in the ambulance, then to the hospital on the respirator. Because you will get to the hospital, they will do blood tests and everything. You won't have the function of breathing on your own. It's a 7-day ICU experience, because your body must, after the antivenom was given to you about 9 to 11 vials for your body weight. They will put off the respirator every day, every 24 hours, testing if you can breathe on your own again. And if you can breathe on your own again, you have to lay there for 3 days, testing all the way before you can go home. And otherwise you lay at home without the respirator and you stop breathing. So they do it properly, they are all trained for that. So if you weigh like 300 kilograms, you've got 3 hours to get to the hospital. That's it. So if you're with a buddy, they always say keep the patient's heart rate down and talk to him and cool him down, calm him down. A dagazol works properly, man. I'm joking, I'm not smoking dagazol. So the main thing is to calm the patient. That's bloody moeilijk. Because everybody is stressed. Like I said, you are raised. If it just touch you, you're gonna die. But I promise you, if you drive in the trails, the guy in front will always get the snakes. So now today's number is gonna be in front.
Hein, you taking the lead.
Yes.
Usual.
So, and if you put a bell on the guy in front's handlebar, all the way, you don't have to do that even. Only the tires on the ground will chase away the snakes. The problem is where you stop and you sit between the rocks, or you lay between the rocks, you book now, and you might step on one, but the chances for a puff adder is much better. There is a lot of puffies, but I don't release puff adders here. At some stage we have, but we moved that area now because of this thing laying here on the floor. They asked me, no. There is boomslang, they will move away. Problem of a boomslang, you don't feel the bite, it doesn't burn. If you do, for example, you're doing edge cutting, and a stupid boomslang that doesn't move away, they always move away because of their good eyesight, bite you on the arm. They say a boomslang must fall from a tree and chew through your hair to get to your kopvel, but they are the most venomous rear fang snake in Africa. But the mouth can open 170 degrees, so it can bite you here. But now you're doing edge cutting, you get bitten. Hey, you doringkie. Okay, gaan aan. You do the edge cutting, and after half an hour you sit there with a beer in front of the TV watching the All Blacks in South Africa play rugby, and South Africa doing good. And yes, but this thorn, it keeps bleeding. Amaka. And then you drink your beer and I've got a bloody taste in my mouth. And eventually you start crying, but the Springbokke is doing well against the All Blacks and I'm crying. It's blood coming from your eyes. So they are hemotoxic. So anti-clotting starts to happen in your blood system. So your white and yellow blood cells get killed by hemotoxic venom. So it keeps bleeding, and the problem is, I don't know the English term, but the bronchial cells in your lungs also bleed. They fill up with blood and you suffocate. You've got 4 hours with a boomslang bite. Nobody yet bitten in South Africa. Only snake catchers, but they know what to do in what's the protocol. So your lungs will fill up with blood, your eyes, all the moisturous holes in your body start to bleed, so you bleed out. So now you can imagine by yourself. The dog normally, from its poop hole, its eyes, everything, laying there on the lawn, bled to death. So, and the antivenom is also properly, but as I said, nobody gets bitten in South Africa by one. If you're doing cycling in the northwest or where black mambas is, the Cape Cobra is more venomous. It's venom, but it's more of a potent cocktail of neurotoxic venom. But the Cape Cobra doesn't give that much as the black mamba. Black mamba will bite you 2 or 3 times. The Cape Cobra only strikes one and then step back and you are warned. Where the black mamba keeps on biting. If they're on a glass bowl and it's standing like that, and you move your hand, the head goes like this. With the Cape Cobra, if it's there hooting in a glass bowl, you hold your hand like that and it strike at you and you do this, it strike miss. Their eyesight is very poor. So the rest of the snakes is all harmless. We don't have mountain or berg adder in this mountain. We don't have nag adder in this area. The only 3 snakes to worry about, the boomslang. There is a lot. You will see them going over the road maybe, or lay there in the tree, but you don't have to worry about them. The puff adder I would worry the most about, because they don't move away. And the puff adder is 12 months of the year active. The Cape Cobra is one of the only snakes going into bromation. Snakes is reptiles. An ice bear do hibernation, snakes is reptiles, they bromate, they don't hibernate. So we are all misled in school. They bromate 100 days every year, ending in around September. Then they come out again, they are hungry. The big ones come out first. So that's the time zone from about June to September. You can drive without looking for any Cape Cobras in the road. But when it gets hot, today is cool, but this is actually puff adder weather. So on hot days, puff adders more likely to hide, and the Cape Cobras come out. In the day, they are mostly active between 1 and 6 o'clock. You drive normally from freaking 6 o'clock in the morning. I always see the cyclists going, they get up early. So remember that time, from about 12, 1 o'clock, you will get the Cape Cobra, maybe there in front, but you will see it going away. I saw one the other week when I was going past the Nantes Dam. It was coming slowly over the road, so I stopped with the bucket. It came with a camera, but moved away. They are scared. Any Q&A's?
Ek wil net gou weet. Sê nou maar byvoorbeeld jy word nou gepik af hoor, jy het net gepraat van jy moet nou rustig wees. Sê nou
halfuur by die hospitaal
wat heeltemal nie gaan gebeur nie. Is dit beter om letterlik af te ry onder toe tot waar ambulans maklik by jou gaan uitkom, of moet jy nou maar daar bo die bos wag? Want
as dit afdrand is, dan van jou hartryk minder tot 'n rush kom. Maar is any one of you allergic to honeybees?
No.
Do you also fietsry? Who else? Do you have an EpiPen? Get one. Spend the money. It's expensive, but that will save your life. Remember, it's a good question, whether any snake bite, any scorpion bite, if you're allergic to honeybees, you're gonna go into anaphylactic shock. You get certain stages of being allergic, but that patient get treated otherwise. That patient will lose their breathing in 1 minute.
sure.
So you must, if you watch out where, always note the persons before a track day. Ask the people, give them a band, orange, because you're allergic to honeybees. For a honeybee sting, for any venomous bite, because it's going to be another treatment. They're not going to give him antivenom in here, he must go through the drip. It also take longer. So, yeah.
En iemand wat asma het, is dit vir hulle ook, gaan hulle ook half aangetast word vinniger?
Ek glo so, dit is eintlik 'n goeie vraag. Ek sou vir professor Haas
een van ons
vra.
pelle, hy het 'n asma pompie. So ek vra nou maar net, want obviously is 'n kobra jou dis mos jou longe wat mos eers
Ja.
gaan.
Ek dink julle moet met 'n GP praat en dalk 'n EpiPen koop vir so 'n geval. Baie mense gaan kom fietsry sonder 'n EpiPen. Maar ewen hy's allergies verby en 'n bysteek kom in die berg, het jy moeilikheid.
what
sit
was
dit
the
op julle
answer to
indemnity
you
form.
Writing down?
Sorry?
You say, so I didn't understand that your
So basically
answer.
what he's saying is if you are bitten in the top or in the mountain
Get it to
and
come down.
and you need to come down, then it's fine, then you can ride down. But if you need to cycle up, for
Oh
argument's
yeah,
sake,
because it's
then it's
relaxing.
not, because it's more
Okay.
straining on your heart. So
Okay.
your blood
But-
will pump
So
faster.
rather get on your bike and just get down.
Yeah. And your body will
Least
cool
effort
down
as
as well, but it's not preferable.
Yeah.
Rather, if you get bitten by a Cape Cobra, the best is Halivac.
Depending on
But
how high you are. yeah.
especially somebody that's allergic to honeybees. And you get a venomous snake bite, it's a problem. Even a puff adder bite that I just told you, you can just be there today. If you're allergic to honeybees, it's going to be another story. I forgot about that actually.
Some people might not even know if they're allergic.
Yeah. And I promise you won't get snakes today.
Can I ask another question? You get this first aid kit, which is like just a suction pump. Does it help at all? Can
No.
you just use it? No.
Now, all the years when we were in the army,
Yeah.
we had kits
Yeah.
with a suction pump,
Yes.
with a blade,
Yes.
and bandages, and so any snake bite, you don't cut open and suck on the blood.
Yeah.
That's murder. In the 90s they changed that.
But without cutting, does it help to suck at all? To take
No.
some poison out?
Now the protein of the venom attacks all that your cells in your body. It won't help to suck it out. That's a myth. But they corrected that in the early 2000s, the early 1990s. Because from the World War II, that was the plan. The little red bucket that was made in Pietermaritzburg. I've got one at home that somebody just gave to me as a souvenir, and it said manufactured in 1987 in the in the Namibian Angola war between South Africa and them. So eerste hulp kit, first aid kit, but it doesn't work. The new thing is just like a tourniquet, only by on the Cobra. If you're far from a hospital, the best is not to put a tourniquet, but that's a thick stretch bandage that you put on from the wound to the wound, as far as possible towards the wound. In other words, you press the venom back to the where you got bitten.
That's for the cobra.
That's only for a cobra. For the boomslang or the puff adder, you don't do that. If you put the tourniquet for a puff adder, you will lose your limb. If you cut on a puff adder bite, you will lose your limb. But yeah, the doctor sometimes, some people take long to get there, and they have to change the veins with skull veins into your hands again. And yeah, and if you see a snake and the Cape Cobra doesn't go away, do you know what to do? Sit like a bee. Stand on your seat. We were all in school standing on seats.
I think what's also important to note when and I'm talking not only from Paul Charles's perspective, I'm talking from the entire Winelands regional section. It sounds funny now, but like Edwin says, you know, there's snakes everywhere, whether it's in your house or on the trails or whatever. I think it's the amount of calls that I've got or questions that I've got, and I know Andrew and them as well, where somehow the landowner or the trail builders or or trail maintenance guys are now suddenly put in a box, and the onus is now left on us to manage that, and that's not the case. You'll be yeah, I'm going to leave that section. So I think the simple fact is that it sounds ugly, but we all love the sport we're doing. Whether you ride, you run, you walk, whatever you do, you're doing this at your own risk. It's part of the indemnity. Every landowner cannot be held liable if you get bitten by a cobra and you walk on a trail, or you're in a vineyard, or you're there in the restaurant. It's the same as being in a house. But what we're doing as a group is trying to find ways that we can collectively as a community try and educate each other, and also try and help where we can, where unfortunately it's one of the risks that are associated to the sport that we're doing. Now it gets me to the situation where unfortunately, even though we're putting in all of these mechanisms, a simple thing like the subscriptions to the bot, we've only got 25% of our members that are subscribed to the bot, and then we get calls, yeah, I know, but I've already got so many apps on my phone and this and that or whatever. But you get bitten by a cobra or a puff adder and you're going to want to know what to do. Trust me, those apps are going to, that app's going to be the most important, or that WhatsApp number is going to be the most important. So I want to go through that quickly, and that's what we had a meeting this week around this regional structure, and making sure that you got everybody a you have that number on your phone. You have downloaded the app. You subscribe to this stuff, because that number, when you go onto that WhatsApp bot and you push or you send the emergency, which I think is number 2, what happens is that automatically opens up a process that we've put together. So there's about 10 or 15 guys that are on that group. We'll all get messages to sit down and say there's an emergency. Now at this point in time, it's just a message saying an emergency. So it could be a fall, it could be this, it could be that. There's negatives around that where you might not have signal. So maybe the message comes in later. But it's a way to try and reduce that risk. When that message comes through, the hope is that one of the 15 guys are close enough to be able to respond. At the same time, that same message goes through to ER24. So they will also attempt to contact you. They will then contact you and try and establish what the situation is. 80%